For a long time, Latin America was one of the world's most critical regions when it came to Israel, with a long history of solidarity with the Palestinian cause rooted in the region's own experience with colonialism and occupation, but today it is no longer. As of August 2026, a profound geopolitical realignment is underway across the continent, driven by a wave of right-wing electoral victories that are systematically reversing the diplomatic solidarity with Palestine that defined the region after October 2023. This shift is not subtle, it is staggering in its scope and speed, transforming countries that once led the charge against Israel's military campaign in Gaza into some of its most ardent new allies. The previous leftist, pink tide, had seen nations like Bolivia become the first South American country to sever diplomatic ties with Israel, followed by Chile recalling its military attaché and suspending arms cooperation, Colombia halting weapons imports, and Brazil, Mexico, and Venezuela issuing open condemnations. Colombia, under then-President Gustavo Petro, went even further, severing diplomatic relations in May 2024, banning coal exports to Israel, terminating their bilateral free trade agreement, intervening in South Africa's genocide case at the International Court of Justice, and becoming a founding member of the Hague Group, which committed to coordinated legal measures against Israel. Yet in a dramatic reversal, Colombia's new right-wing president, Abelardo de la Espriella, has not only pledged to restore full diplomatic relations but has announced that Colombia will relocate its embassy to Jerusalem, withdrawn from the Hague Group, and even recognized Israel's claim to the occupied Golan Heights, becoming only the second country to do so after the United States. This pattern is repeating across the continent. Bolivia and Honduras have withdrawn from the Hague Group, Chile and Honduras have returned their ambassadors to Israel, and Honduras has signed a new memorandum of understanding with Israel to deepen defense cooperation. Argentina's ultra-conservative President Javier Milei has made close relations with Israel a defining feature of his foreign policy, visiting Israel for the third time in 2 years, weeping at the Western Wall, and signing the Isaac Accords to expand security, artificial intelligence, and economic cooperation, with Netanyahu joking they had moved from Abraham to Isaac. Paraguay, under conservative President Santiago Peña, formally reopened its embassy in Jerusalem in December 2024. Marking the third time the embassy has moved between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem depending on the political orientation of the government. In a particularly symbolic diplomatic victory for Israel, Venezuela and Israel agreed in August 2026 to create a mechanism for the resumption of consular services, a limited but once unthinkable step, given that Caracas had severed diplomatic relations with Israel in 2009 under Hugo Chavez. This rapprochement comes after the capture of Nicolas Maduro by the United States and amid a broader Venezuelan reorientation away from its former association with Iran and toward Washington. Israel's diplomatic offensive extends to Peru as well, where the government signed a contract with Israeli defense giant Elbit Systems for technological cooperation and technology transfer in the arms sector. El Salvador's self-described coolest dictator, Nayib Bukele, alongside former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro, were pioneers in this rapprochement, establishing a template that Milei and other right-wing leaders have since followed. Collectively, these governments are driven by a combination of ideological alignment with Trump-era U.S. foreign policy, lucrative arms and surveillance technology deals, and a desire to position themselves within a Judeo-Christian Western civilization framework. This new pro-Israel bloc is actively seeking to form strategic alliances, driven by a combination of ideological alignment with Trump-era U.S. foreign policy, lucrative arms and surveillance technology deals, and a desire to position themselves within a Judeo-Christian Western civilization framework. For Israel, this represents a lifeline at a time when global support is waning. YouGov surveys show support at historic lows, and Pew Research data indicates 60% of Americans now view Israel negatively, making Latin America a critical new front for diplomatic backing at the UN, a market for its defense industry, and political cover as traditional alliances fray. The result is a continent in flux, where the historical understanding of the Palestinian struggle, rooted in the region's own history of colonial occupation and home to an estimated 700,000 people of Palestinian origin across 14 countries, is being rapidly overridden by a new geopolitical calculus that prioritizes alignment with Israel over solidarity with Palestine. Poll after poll shows that Latin America,